Mayor Ford, have you smoked crack since being elected?
Are you still using drugs?
Is there an appropriate place to use the word fag?
You said you weren't drinking the other day. Was there any drugs?
No, I wasn't.
I have nothing left to hide.
Hi, I'm Margaret Webb here with Daily Xtra, and it's my pleasure to welcome Robyn Doolittle, author of Crazy Town, the Rob Ford story.
Thanks for having me.
I am a crazy news junkie, and I didn't think there was much for me to learn about the Rob Ford story after following your reporting very closely on it. But this is a terrific book.
Thank you.
It's a page-turner, and it takes us behind the scenes not only of the scandal, but also how this scandal has changed journalism, and I was wondering if you could comment a bit about that.
Yeah, that was something that I was really excited about when I was writing this, is really getting the chance to kind of pull the curtain back and show people how a newsroom works. There were so many aspects of the industry that I wanted to get into. After the Xtra reported on the crack video, something like 45% of the city thought it was a hoax, not just untrue, but a hoax. And I think that that's the big takeaway in the conversation that's been happening in the industry ever since this story broke, is that people don't understand what we do for a living, how we do it, the great lengths that we go to be fair to the people that we're reporting on. And that's something that I explore in the book. I also explore declining trust in the media and why that's happening, and the phenomenon of that erosion of public trust that's happened in recent years.
So we've heard about the crack smoking, the drunken stupors, the alleged, gang, hanging out with criminals, et cetera, et cetera. There is one very little reported story in the media, which may yet become a big story, and that is the story of the connection between Nicholas Swaby and Rob Ford. Now, Nicholas Swaby was the former captain of Don Bosco High School, which was the football team that Rob Ford coached. Nicholas was arrested recently for his alleged involvement in a brutal assault on Christopher Skinner, a gay man, about 4 years ago in Toronto in the entertainment district. So Swaby was the captain of Don Bosco football team, and he said that Rob Ford was his role model. So I would like to just get a sense from you about what is Rob Ford's relationship with his former high school football team. Of course, Rob Ford was let go from that role.
Yeah, and I mean, I wouldn't want to comment on this. It's not something that I've investigated extensively enough to feel comfortable commenting, especially because of the sensitive nature of the question.
Yeah. Well, I guess it goes back to this whole notion of inciting hatred. But we hear very little about Rob Ford's anti-gay policies and homophobic slurs. Now, you've suggested in your book that the homophobic slurs are not necessarily a slip of the tongue, that he may very well be intending these policies.
Yeah, and that's something that I recently wrote about as well. During the Olympics, when people at City Hall said they were going to fly the rainbow flag, sort of in solidarity with LGBT athletes, the mayor said this is not a time for politicizing this. This is and then he put up a Canada flag in his window with duct tape. And a lot of people were wondering, is this an example of his homophobia? And speaking with people that were close to him, it looked more, it seemed as if he was almost intentionally trying to stoke something there. And that's something that people who are observing this say is the most disturbing. It's even more disturbing than if he actually was homophobic, is that he seems to be maybe trying to score political points.
Right.
But speaking with members of his political team who say he was very aware that this sits well with his base, and that this appeals to them, I mean, the question of whether Rob Ford is homophobic or not, it's so... You look at some of the things that he's done, some of the things that he said, and you can draw your own conclusions. If the so-called crack video ever comes out, I think that will become a huge story, because he does clearly call Liberal leader Justin Trudeau a fag, and to hear it come out of his mouth is something that kind of stops you. So yeah, I mean, I think that is something that's really important, especially in a city like Toronto, to have a mayor who said he's going to refuse to go to World Pride. So I think that actually will hurt him in the election.
I'm wondering if you could speak to a little bit about who this Ford Nation, this rock-solid core of support he seems to have behind him. Who are these folks?
Yeah, I mean, Ford Nation is, most people agree, about 20%. So it's not just Ford Nation that's supporting him. There was a whole host of reasons that Rob Ford was elected in 2010. He's built a base as someone who will count it, watch your pennies, who will call you back if you phone him. He's out for the little guy. He spent 10 years defending this position. That, combined with a division in this city between the suburbs and the downtown core, the historic city of Toronto, he's expertly sort of stoked tension between the two and found a niche for himself there that together builds a winning coalition. And the question is, can he hold on to that, or will these right-wing people see someone like a John Tory and say this is kind of the same idea but without the distractions? Or will this other segment of the population that has no interest in this sort of right-wing populism go to someone like Olivia Chow and say, we're done with this? And that's the big question.
Veteran reporter, journalist, well-respected Jan Wong called Crazy Town a better book than All the President's Men, which helped, with the investigation, the Watergate scandal, brought down a president. And yet Rob Ford seems to be going nowhere. Why haven't they arrested him?
And it's tough to say that too. I mean, certainly lawyers like Clayton Ruby have said if he was anybody else, they would have done a sting operation and seen what was in those bags that was being handed off between Sandra Lisi and Rob Ford, those suspicious packages. I will say that I think it is important to remember that he's not everybody. He's the mayor. And the police have political considerations as well. Right or wrong, I'm not saying, I'm just saying the reality is if the police had done a sting operation and ripped open the envelope and seen football consent forms or something to that effect, it would have been a huge scandal and a big problem for the police force. We've seen right now that he's gone to the lengths to demonize Bill Blair and accuse him of having a vendetta. So there are political considerations, and as for why they haven't arrested him, I can only assume that it's because they don't have the evidence. We know that they've been actively investigating him for almost a year now.
What's your hunch? Do you think he'll be arrested?
I mean, I don't want to make a hunch, but I can say that we know the things that we know. They have cell phone records, they have wiretap information, they have secret recordings that Sandra Lisi made of Rob Ford. They've been through that evidence, and there's not enough to convict him or charge him. So I suppose if you look at this and you think probably based on what's there now, there would be, unless something new comes forward, the charges probably are not going to be laid.
Well, thank you for writing a terrific book. And I wish you all the best with it. Thank you.
Thank you.